It's a nice sunrise this morning. Here in the mountains of the Dominican Republic. Good morning. Just going for a little walk. I'm in a town called Jimani. That's just a kilometer or so from the Haitian border in the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic is bigger than you might think. We drove from Santo Domingo yesterday up here into the mountains where the main border crossing is found between these two countries in Hispaniola. And it was a long drive. It was a 6-hour drive. The roads were surprisingly good, much better than I expected. There were a few places where there was construction or there were some potholes, but overall was much better than I expected it would be. We went to church yesterday in Santo Domingo at a small church that was built and started by my wife's cousin Kevin and his organization, which is called Pericaleo. So there were about, I don't know, maybe 20 people there. And of course, yeah, man, go, man, go. He's running. Of course, when you visit a church like that, I just know from prior experience, they're going to ask you to preach, even though you just showed up. You're the guest. It's like you're the guest of honor, so preach for us. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. Yeah, they asked me to stand up within about 3 minutes of us getting there. They asked me to stand up and preach. The service actually went on for like 4 hours, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to handle that. So we admittedly showed up a little bit late. It's really beautiful here. I'm going to turn the camera around just so you can see what it looks like. It's a nice morning. It's about 75 degrees. These trees on both sides of the road are banana. Those are bananas, and I can see some other kinds of trees kind of mixed in there. The papaya tree. I'm walking towards the border checkpoint, I believe, between the two countries. That's what we're here to do. We came here to sort of connect a link in the chain of migration. As you probably know, Haiti is it's a hot 11 degrees in Chicagoland. Yeah, it's wintertime. I like to cover things that are in the southern hemisphere or close. Anyway, we wanted to come out here and cover this link in the immigration chain. As you know, Haiti is an absolute wreck. It's a failed state. It doesn't have any government left to speak of, and it is rife with violence and corruption, and kidnapping is the only growth industry there. So there are millions of Haitians who are vying to get out of that country. The closest, the only choice they have if they don't want to swim or fly is here in the Dominican Republic. So there are millions of Haitians here in the Dominican Republic. I don't know what percentage of people in the Dominican Republic are Haitian or of Haitian descent, but it's a lot. I read the other day that in Jamaica, right now, about 30% of the population is Haitian. So that's astounding. That's pretty amazing. Here in, what was that? I didn't see that comment. Sorry. Hang on. See if I can see it again. Yeah. Come on, man. Get some. Okay. Chat viewing options. Oh, God bless. Yeah, you too. Anyway, virtually every Haitian wants to leave Haiti. There's, that would be, I think, a very easily provable statement, because any Haitian who has the ability to leave is leaving or has left. Now, where they go is another question. When they get to the Dominican Republic, it's far and away safer. Our translator is Pastor Simon, and I asked him yesterday, what's the difference in the crime rate between the best neighborhood in Haiti and the worst neighborhood in the Dominican Republic? And he said, oh gosh, it's not even, you can't even compare the two. He said, at least people are calm, tranquil in the Dominican Republic. They might still be poor, but there is a functioning government, and there is there's a functioning government, and there is so there is some deterrent to crime. When it comes to crime in Haiti, it's the Wild West. Anybody can do anything. It's not the Wild West. That's not even the right way. It's Somalia. There's nothing stopping anyone from taking what they want from you, or killing you, or kidnapping you, or stealing your stuff. It's a completely failed state. So what that means is that people come here to the Dominican Republic for a functioning government, a functioning educational system, a functioning hospital system. A lot of Haitian mothers come here to have their babies, and that causes a significant strain on the social programs here in the Dominican Republic, as you can imagine, as you might have seen from the U.S. southern border, very similar. So people are still desperate, but they're in better shape here in the Dominican Republic than they would be in Haiti. And so there are more and more coming every day. Because that has created such a strain on the government here in the Dominican Republic, and like I said, on their social programs, they have instituted a pretty aggressive program of sending people back to Haiti, deporting people who don't have legal paperwork. And last year, they deported 162,000 Haitians back into Haiti. Now, this is a complicated thing, and this is the reason that I do this podcast. Do I fear for my safety? Not one bit here. I don't fear for my safety really anywhere. I mean, there are places where I'm smart enough not to go, but I'm not going to be wandering around in a place where I would feel likely to to get jacked or kidnapped or whatever. But so one of the reasons I do this podcast is because I'm able to take the time to explain things and the nuance that you find when you really get down to the brass tacks with these issues, whether it's Ukraine or immigration or anything else that I cover. Things are not always so cut and dried, so black and white. Obviously, you've got to feel for the people in Haiti. The place is a wreck. You wouldn't want to live there. And so you can't really blame people for wanting to leave. But at the same time, you have to understand and admit that it causes a significant strain on other countries where these people go. And you also have to point out, if you're being honest, that people who come from a place like Haiti don't know what it means to be civilized. They don't know what it means. That's not something you just are born with. You have to be taught to be civilized. And when you come from a place that is completely lawless, you don't know what it means to be civilized. You have no idea. And so you bring that lawlessness with you wherever you go. And that's a real problem. It's not a problem when a small number of people come into a community, and because if there's a small number of them, then they will rapidly assimilate into that new community, and they're not just gonna, they're gonna kind of look around and take the social cues, right? But when they come en masse and tens or hundreds of thousands of them show up, then they just import their own culture. They import all the problems that they had back at home. They bring them along with them. And you see that here in the Dominican Republic. You see that in Miami and places where there are large groups of Haitians. Now, Haitians are wonderful people, and they're the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. They're very beautiful. But they come from a place that's completely uncivilized. I say uncivilized. They come from a lawless place. They come from a place where there is no law. And a place where there's no law is not going to have much grace either, because law and grace go together. So that causes a problem for the Dominican Republic. So the DR is kicking these people out as fast as they can. They're grabbing anybody that has any semblance of a Haitian and just throwing them back across the border. And they're building a wall. That's right. The Dominican Republic is building a border wall between the two countries. Now, you can see the demarcation between Haiti and the Dominican Republic without a wall, because the Haitians have cut down virtually every tree in their country for firewood or charcoal. And so there's an actual line. We're going to try to show that today from the drone when we get going here in a little bit. But the problems that the Dominican Republic is facing, and the way that they're handling those problems, is by just kicking people out. Now, we have something in the United States called, birthright citizenship, anchor babies. So if you stumble across the southern border into the United States as a pregnant woman and you give birth inside the U.S., that baby is an American citizen, ipso facto. We sort of take that for granted. I always thought that was just the way it was everywhere. Like, you are a citizen of the country where you dropped out. But that's not the case in many countries, and it's not the case here in the Dominican Republic. So I'm going to turn around and go back the other way. Man, it's so pretty here. I'm going to turn this camera around and show you the mountains over there. Look at that. It's a beautiful morning. Really nice. Super cool. We're pretty high up in the mountains. I don't know what our elevation is. I guess I could look at my watch and find out. But we're pretty high. Well, I don't know how to run my watch, so I guess I won't do that. um, anyway, so if you are born in the Dominican Republic, but your parents are not Dominican, you're not a Dominican. And that causes some real problems for some of these Haitians, because there are lots and lots of Haitians who were actually born here in the DR, but their parents were not Dominican, and or even both parents. So they don't have Dominican paperwork. They can't get a passport here in the Dominican Republic. They can't get a passport in Haiti either. And I mean, not without significant difficulty. So they're stateless persons. They're just stuck here in the Dominican Republic. They don't have any legal paperwork to declare them a citizen of one country or the other. So they just drop into this legal black hole, sort of. And so imagine when that person says, I'm going to go to the United States. They've got to have a sort of underground process, or a black market process to travel, because you can't travel without paperwork, right? I mean, you have to have a passport when you go to the airport to go on vacation or spring break or whatever. But these people, they find other ways to do it. So they hire a boat to take them from the Dominican Republic across to, like, maybe Suriname or French Guiana, or Guyana, not French Guiana, probably. And then they get there as illegal immigrants, but that's a fairly porous, fairly easy place to go. And then they start taking buses, and they do the same thing, crossing borders. They cross into Brazil. They cross from Brazil into Colombia. They then reach that vaunted Darien Gap, and they walk for 6 days through the jungle. Now, I've done a tremendous amount of reporting. If you've followed any of my work, you've seen stuff about the Darien Gap, because I report on that a lot. We reported on it a lot last week. And there's no question it is incredibly challenging and difficult. That journey, 6 days through the jungle, lots of people die in there. The jungle itself is malevolent, but there are even worse actors in there in terms of gangs and narco traffickers and things like that. So our friends Ben Berkwam and Oscar Blue walked through the Darien Gap last week and made it through in 3.5 days, taking the shorter of two routes. And they both said it was the hardest thing they've ever done. So, we see Haitians walking through there in droves that are, young pregnant women. I saw a lady with a 1-month-old baby. A craziness. Like, how can they even survive? They walk through there without a backpack. They just sort of take off and walk through there. Well, if you went to Haiti and saw how the people live there every day, it wouldn't be so surprising to you that they can walk through the Darien Gap with nothing, because they're used to nothing. They can live on nothing. They've been living on nothing for so long that they could do anything with nothing. You got to respect the Haitians for their toughness and tenacity. However, since they can live here, again, they're still going to be poor, but you don't have a right not to be poor. You can survive. Millions of people are surviving here who come here from Haiti. So once you leave the Dominican Republic as a Haitian, you're no longer fleeing war and oppression. You're an economic migrant. And that's the most important thing to point out. I don't blame anybody for leaving Haiti, but if you go from Haiti to the Dominican Republic to Suriname to Brazil to Colombia to Panama to Costa Rica to Nicaragua to Honduras to Guatemala to Mexico to the United States, you just cross through like 10 countries, any one of which you could have built a life and made a living in. You don't need to come to the United States. There are a lot of people on the left in the United States who believe, for whatever reason, I think it's just naivete, that the only place you can have a good life in the entire world is the United States. That is patently untrue. And I know that because I've been living outside the United States now for more than 10 years. And we've made a beautiful life for ourselves in Panama. Now, if you've got money, you can make a pretty decent life anywhere. But again, asylum, that, the claim that we have a duty to take in people who are fleeing war and oppression, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I don't think anybody, would counter that and say, no, people need to stay in oppressive places. No, we're all logical and charitable enough to admit that if you're fleeing war and oppression, sure, we'll take you in. That's why we took in so many refugees from Ukraine this last year, all of whom can't wait to go back to their country as soon as things get fixed there. But if you leave your country and go to another country and then say, oh, wait, there's a better deal across that fence. So you go to that country and then you go, wait, there's a better deal across that fence. There's a greener pasture over there. Well, now you're just an economic migrant. And because of the cost that is levied on the society where you're going, you don't ipso facto have a right to demand entry into whatever country you want. It'd be great if people could just go live wherever they wanted to. And I think that would be doable if we got rid of the pull factors, meaning the social programs that take money from hardworking people and just hand it out to people who didn't earn it. That's not charity. Charity is when I work to earn my money and then I decide of my own free will to give of my largesse to someone in need. But when the government steps between the two of us, me and the needy person, and steals my money at the point of a gun, and then writes a faceless random check to the needy person, it destroys the magic of charity. It destroys the beauty of that transaction. And it destroys the accountability that goes along with charity. If I meet you on the street and I get to know you and realize that you're in need and I give of myself to help you and then find that you're squandering the help that I give, well, I'll stop giving you money. It's very difficult for the government to do that at scale. But that's why there are these parallel structures to government, like churches and NGOs, because churches and NGOs are in a much better position to determine who's truly needy and give them help that will not exacerbate their poverty, but will actually lift them out of it. Because it comes along with a life lesson and a grace lesson that spurs people to want to be better and to pass that charity along. The government stepping between the giver and the receiver, there's only one reason for the government to do that, by the way. And that's to buy votes. That's to use, to try to piggyback on the concept of charity to garner votes for their party. And that is blatantly immoral. There's no two ways about it. It's absolutely immoral, and it's ineffective, because when somebody... Buenas.
Buena.
¿Cómo está?
Estamos bien.
Excelente. When somebody receives a check from the government, you know, just a random check for $600, because the government has the ability to simply print money, and you know other people are getting checks, you're not likely to feel gratitude. You're more likely to feel resentment. $600. Why didn't they send me $800? That guy got more money than I did. You know, whatever. It's it breaks the cycle of charity. It breaks the beauty of it and destroys the effectiveness of it. So that's what we see in Haiti, because governments have for decades gone into Haiti. We got to fix these poor little brown people, and sent shiploads of free stuff down here to help them. So they've got a year-round growing season here, right? You understand that? They get several crops a year. So if the crop fails one season and there's hunger in Haiti, the United States has often said, oh, we've got to address this. So they subsidize a bunch or buy a bunch of American grain, put it in a ship, and send it down here. It takes several months for that to happen. By the time the ship rolls into port in Port-au-Prince, there's already been another harvest, and maybe this one didn't fail. So now there's a bumper crop of food in Haiti, like this truck coming behind me. Wait till you see this. This is a large truck full of bananas coming right out of Haiti. Right there, look at that. Nothing to declare. Nice, huh? There's some kids going to school. These motorcycles are what you call a family car here in the Dominican Republic. You usually see 3 or 4 people on them at once. Anyway, so the ship pulls into port right about the time that there's a new crop of vegetables being harvested. And now they're handing out, look at that. This truck full of bananas goes to the market and tries to sell their goods, and nobody's buying. Why? Because they're lined up at the ship to get free grain. And all that free grain puts these farmers right out of business. So the farmers then stop farming. The farmers stop farming and go get in line for free stuff. And we create this cycle of poverty. That is what's happened in Haiti since the early 80s. First time I went to Haiti was 1987. And it's 100 times worse today than it was in 1987. Without question, no doubt. So the world body has pumped probably over $1 billion a year into Haiti in the form of aid and humanitarian relief and development and all that stuff since 1987, which means we've essentially bought that country several times over. And yet it's far worse today than it ever was, which just goes to show that if you teach a man to fish, you feed him forever, but if you give a man a fish, you feed him for only a day. All right, that's all I've got for today. I've got to go get ready for my day. We're going to go down to the border crossing and see if we can find the wall that they're building. We're going to talk to some more Haitians and Dominicans about this issue, and then we're going to drive all the way back to Santo Domingo tonight and get on trying to find more about this chain of migration. How do people get from Dominican Republic to the mainland if they don't have any documents. There's another story that I'm pursuing, I may end up doing here, that I've just sort of found since I got here, and that is the absolutely rampant sex tourism that's happening here. I thought Cartagena was bad, but man, Santo Domingo is, whew. We were down there having dinner the other night, and I was like, why are there prostitutes just everywhere? Well, I didn't know it until I did a little research, but 25% of Dominican girls are pregnant by the time they're 15. Think about that for a minute. 25%. That is mind-boggling. Unbelievable. So we've got a lot of good stuff coming. So keep following. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.